Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello, bonjour, ciao, ni hao, privet, hola, g'day, and today, salam. You are listening to Road to the World Cup 2026 podcast, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only place to find regular soccer content on the top English Premier League teams, women's football, and of course, because you're listening to it, the World Cup 2026. And it still remains the only World Cup podcast that's being broadcast regularly. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm your host, Nick Britten, and I'm delighted. I am delighted to be joined this week again after he missed last week's episode. I had to do it on my own, and it wasn't much fun, I'm not going to lie. But he's back. The Beaver is back. It's Mr. Ken Davies. Hello, Ken.
How you doing? I dodged a bullet in the last 2 weeks, as we know. We won't go into any gory detail, but I dodged a bullet. Though I did give me the opportunity to listen to you doing your solo podcast last week, and I thought, I've got to get back. I mean, that was the thing that actually pushed me back. I thought, I've got to get back. I've just simply got to get well enough for the next episode. So here I am, and it is very, very good to be back.
And it's very, very good to see you. Just in case you're wondering, he wasn't getting shot at. He was just a bit unwell when he says he dodged a bullet. It wasn't a literal thing.
No, Nick. It was a drive-by.
What, you went to McDonald's? So last week, folks, we took a bit of a detour from our usual format in as much as because Ken wasn't here, I just ran through and brought everybody up to date with qualifying. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, please do, because it brings you up to date with all things qualifying. You have to listen to me on my own, unfortunately, but it's there if you want to get up to speed. But today we're going to take a deep dive back into what we normally do, which is look at teams who have qualified, because of course, over the last 2 weeks of qualifying, which finished last week, loads of teams qualified. So we had a load more teams to talk about. And today we're going to go into...
It's almost as if we planned this, isn't it? It's almost as if we planned it, where we get this big tranche, and then we get another tranche, and then we get another tranche. It's working out well from that perspective.
Who would have thought, eh? Who would have
thought?
I know. Anyway, we're going to have a look at the minnows in the World Cup, and indeed the debutants of the World Cup. They've never played there before, but they're going to be joining us in USA, Mexico and Canada next year. And that is Uzbekistan. Yeah, you feeling it? Okay, that's the Uzbekistan national anthem. What do you think?
That is like going to ChatGPT and saying, "Make me a national anthem." You know what I mean? It's got every element of what you want in a national anthem, but it doesn't quite work. In the sense, if it's got the martial kind of, it's got the big build up with the drums that start the brrrr, da 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 da. You're marching. We're marching together. But it never really grabs at the heartstrings. Hasn't got that, that kind of resonance for me. So that's not winning the national anthem World Cup, I'm afraid. For me,
it was actually when they were part of the Soviet Union. Yeah, when Uzbekistan was part of the Soviet Union, the Soviets gave them their own national anthem.
Oh, nice!
And when they gained independence in 1991, they just kept it. They rewrote the words, but they just kept the tune.
Yeah.
So it has got that very kind of Soviet-y feel to it, hasn't it?
Very, very much. Yeah, it's a very Eastern. It's kind of Cold War one, isn't it? Anyway, I'm sure they love it. I'm sure they love it in Tashkent. I'm sure they're dancing in the streets.
I'm sure they are right now when they're listening to this. Right, as always, we're going to go through a little bit of World Cup news just to bring you up to speed with a couple of things that have been going on this week in relation to the World Cup. Ken will have a look at the history of Uzbekistan football. That won't take long, I don't think. Although, to be fair, they have done quite well. They've very nearly got to World Cups in the past, so I'm sure he'll be touching on that. I'll have a look at 5 key players. We'll look at formation. delighted to bring back Kenny's quiz this week. I did do it last week, but of course Kenny wasn't here, so he didn't get any points last week. He failed, so no points
better than normal, to be honest.
And then we'll have a look at the manager and predictions, and we'll see where we think, after all of that, Uzbekistan are going to end up in the World Cup next year. How they
Let's
go.
go.
But before we start and do any of that, let's bring you up to speed with a bit of breaking news. Okay, let's just bring you up to speed with a couple of things that have been happening this week in relation to the World Cup. The big one is, of course, the fact that the Club World Cup is going on in America at the moment. That, in my opinion, is of no interest to anybody other than the teams that follow the World Cup.
Certainly not the spectators.
No, it's not the spectators. Nobody's interested. The grounds are half empty. It's all being done for TV. The schedule is all being done for TV. And the TV audiences around the world are actually okay, but it's in terms of a competition, live football, it's a bit of a waste of time. But you know my feelings. If you've listened to any of these podcasts, you know my feelings about the Club World Cup. But the big news is that players and managers and supporters are already complaining about having to turn out in the exceptionally hot temperatures. Now, this is, of course, a bit of a dress rehearsal for next year's World Cup. It's going to be played at the same sort of time. And the temperatures are absolutely soaring. So the road tests that are going on, the feedback from the players is not good. So after Paris Saint-Germain's 4-0 win over Atletico Madrid in California, so that's in Pasadena in California, the PSG coach, Luis Enrique, was very unhappy with it all. And he said the teams are suffering. He says it's impossible to perform at a high level for 90 minutes in this heat. The Atletico midfielder, Marcos Llorente, said it's impossible, it's terribly hot, my toes are sore, my toenails are hurting, I couldn't stop and start, it's unbelievable. PSG player Vitinha said, I'm all red, it's really difficult. So look, let's not forget that in Qatar 2022, the World Cup was moved to the winter because of the heat. And by way of indication of what it's like out there at the moment, if you don't know, if you're not out in America, it's mid-90s, it's mid-90s Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
that's 32 degrees centigrade. And if you look at the venues and the stadiums that are being used in the World Cup, of the 16 stadiums, only 5 have roofs. The rest are open air. They're totally open to the weather. There's no possible way of cooling people down. And at those venues, 7 of those venues in the coming week are expected to have even higher temperatures than they've got at the moment. So the temperatures are due to go up. It's really interesting, Ken. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts on this are threefold. Firstly, it's only going to get worse because actually the World Cup is a long World Cup and it runs right into the height of summer. I think it's also going to get worse because quite a few of the games are going to be played in Mexico, further south, further closer to the equator. Temperatures are going to be excessive. And clearly, that's going to have, not only is that going to have an effect on performances, it's going to have an effect on health, and the authorities are going to have to be really, really careful about that. I think the problem is we could end up with a very pedestrian World Cup, where actually the style of play is governed not by the skills or the positivity of the teams, but preserving energy, and that could make quite a flat and kind of predictable and fairly slow-paced, ticky-tacky type of World Cup, which I think would be a great shame. The fourth thing, actually, I should mention, it probably just upped my expectation that Mexico are going to have a very good World Cup. Of any team, I think who might be used to the conditions out there, they've probably got the best shout in terms of the top teams. If you've got teams from South America and Southern Europe complaining about the inability to play in that heat, it's clearly a problem. So there's a whole host of issues. Difficult to see what they can do about it now. But I think, we may have a lot of water breaks. And I just think from a spectacle perspective, from a footballing perspective, I think it's going to have a major impact in the way the games are going to get played, particularly later in the competition.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was going to say the other thing. I was just particularly in the group stages, as everybody gets used to it, and nobody wants to lose games. I mean, group stages can be cagey anyway. As teams get used to it, it may help the minnows. I don't know. It may help the minnows. It's going to be a bit. It's going to be a bit difficult, and I think you're right. As a spectacle, what you want is fast-paced, free-flowing, entertaining football. You don't want players just passing it around the back for 70 minutes to run around.
No, I would agree with that. And a couple of teams playing 120 minutes in that. That's, you're going to get fallout from that, from a player fitness perspective, from a recovery perspective.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. And in the latter stage of the tournament, as you say, where they're having to play games on a fairly regular basis, it's going to have to become, as far as the coaches are concerned, another tactical thing they're going to have to add in big time.
Yeah.
They're going to have to really think about this very carefully. So that's really having a look at the.
Do you think that will increase the rotation of players? Then do you think there'll be kind of? Do you think there's going to be more substitutions purely based on the fact that people just can't last?
I think we'll see that. I think we're going to have to see it, and I think we're going to have to see managers rotating. They're not going to be able to put out the same 11 game after game after game, are they? They're going to have to rotate because players just won't be able to do it.
It's interesting.
By the way, players complaining after one game.
Yeah,
this is players complaining after one game. So, what are they going to be like after 4 or 5?
It's going to be serious. It's going to be a very, very interesting subject to watch, I think.
It is. Other bit of news then before we move on is former England manager Gareth Southgate has reportedly offered to take on the Polish national team coaching role. Now, the Poland coach, Michael Probiet, stepped away from his role after a very well-publicised and high-profile fallout with the striker Robert Lewandowski. Of course, Lewandowski is a god in Poland. You don't go against him. There's only one winner in that competition. So Poland are looking for a new manager, and reportedly Gareth Southgate has been in touch to say, "I'm your man for the job." What do you reckon about
that? I'm not his greatest fan. I have to be honest. I find him pedestrian. I find him relatively negative. I don't find him a proactive coach. He hasn't really. Let's be absolutely brutal about it. Certainly at club level, he hasn't really done anything of particular note. He's kind of got a reputation of being an international manager and a decent one. Probably a decent one with players. He was obviously a decent player himself. But I don't get the sense it really depends what Poland's ambitions are. Poland are a decent footballing nation. I don't think Southgate's going to propel them to any great heights. So, clearly he's a respected international manager, but to me, he's kind of a kind of manager which will definitely keep things going, but I don't think he's going to do anything exceptional for you. So my advice is you probably find better somewhere else, Poland.
He took England to a Euros final last year. He took them to the final in 2020, the previous final against Italy, where they lost both. They lost once to Italy and once to Spain. World Cup semi-final. He elevated England to a level they hadn't been playing at for quite a long time. He was very, very highly thought of within the England camp for his ability to really blend the camp and form and foster a culture within the camp where all the players really were pulling in the same direction, which has not been the case for England under previous managers. Certainly, there's been lots of reports, and indeed not even reports, because players have said it themselves. Man United players didn't want to mix with Liverpool players in the past, etc., etc.
Crazy.
And he not only did that, but he brought back a love of the English national team to the country, because the country had just fallen out with English football. Supporters didn't want to watch them. The country as a whole didn't like really watching England, because they just failed and failed and failed time and time. And if you think back to that defeat to Iceland a few years ago, which was the nadir, everybody was just pig sick of them. So Gareth Southgate took over, and so he did an awful lot of good in terms of bringing forward English football, bringing it to the next level. But he also faced his critics for not being able to then finish the job and win something. He faced his critics for coming up against managers who were supposedly far more tactically astute during games. So that in-game management was something that he faced a lot of flack for.
I think that's true.
So I think you may be being a bit harsh when you say that he's respected, but I think it's maybe a bit better than that. It'd be really interesting to see. I think you maybe touched on the nub of the issue here, Ken, which is what are Poland's ambitions? Poland's ambitions aren't going to be to win the World Cup. And then one of the problems with managing England is, for no reason whatsoever, everybody expects you to win the World Cup. I don't know why. England have only ever won it once. There's no reason for any expectation. But the expectations, as you well know, are incredibly high if you are manager of England. You are expected to win something. Poland is not like that. So maybe if Poland's expectations are to progress and get to quarterfinals and semi-finals of competitions, which they don't do, so in that kind of one level below England, if you like, he might be the perfect man for the job.
Well, you've made a. Maybe you should go there. Maybe you should be representing him. Maybe you should give him a ring, like he's given the Polish FA a ring, and say, "Yeah, do you need an agent?" Because I reckon there's not many people in the country could have actually described the positivity of appointing Gareth Southgate quite as well as you just did. So well done, Nick.
Well, it's just a question of looking at both sides of the coin.
Oh, I don't
That's
do
all
that.
it is.
I tend to not do it.
Well, I don't, because if you'd asked me first before you came on, I would have said exactly what you said, because I don't think it's any good. Right. Bring us an advert, Ken, and then we'll move on to some players.
Yeah, as we know in football, Gareth Southgate knows it pays to get the team selection right. And here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery partner. And we chose Zencastr because Zencastr makes it easy to bring your vision to life, share it with your audience, wherever they are. So with 4K video recording, easy AI editing tools, top-tier distribution, all in one place. If you've got that story to tell it with Zencastr. You'll find it easy, and check the show notes for more details. Nikolai.
Right, we're going to have a look at some key players. I picked out, as I always do, 5 key players for Uzbekistan. One of the joys of
we're not going to do the history this week then.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we do.
Probably should, really, shouldn't we? Well, it isn't going to take long, except the birth of football in Uzbekistan goes back to 1912. That's nearly 7:15. No, 1912 AD. Obviously, they're from the AFC, the Asian Football Confederation. They are, in fact, the dominant force in the Central Asia region, because the AFC has these kind of 5 sub-confederations, and the Central Asian one is very much dominated by Uzbekistan. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, Nick. Don't know if it's going to on Kenny's quiz, but this is Nicky's quiz. Excuse me.
You can't just introduce new segments into the podcast. That's my job, introducing new segments.
Yeah, but I came across this interesting little fact, and I thought, oh, Nick will be interested in that, because I know you're interested in stuff like this. Uzbekistan has got a unique geographical anomaly. There is something about Uzbekistan that no other country in the world shares. And I wonder if you can work out what that might be.
Right. It's a geographical thing, is it?
Yes, it is.
Because when I was researching this podcast, I came across the fact that Uzbekistan was double landlocked, which is highly unusual.
That's it. It's not only quite unusual, it's completely unique. It's double landlocked. It means that not only are they landlocked, every country that they're landlocked to is itself landlocked. I mean, if you like a weekend at the seaside, don't move to Uzbekistan.
Yeah. Except when I researched this a little bit more, it turned out to be blatantly untrue.
No way.
It's blatantly untrue. And also, there are, because I saw this fact and I thought that was really interesting. So I researched it a little bit more. But if you look at where Uzbekistan is, it's bordered with Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
And if I'm right in thinking, Kazakhstan is on the Caspian Sea.
Yeah,
and it's
but
also
that's not a sea. That's fresh water. So it's not.
Well, okay,
It's
so it
considered landlocked.
yeah. Well, in
Kazakhstan is
that
considered because it's just a big lake.
right. Well, in that
So
case, technically, in that case, it is, but it's not the only one. It's not the only one because if you look at, there are lots of countries in Europe. If you look at Slovakia, for example, they're bordered by no Liechtenstein. There is another one because I then started looking at maps. Do you know when you go down rabbit holes when you're researching stuff?
yeah,
This was
I
a
do.
massive rabbit hole I went down because I got up a map of the world and I looked at all the countries that this could be the case for as well. So whilst I'm looking at this, I'm pretty sure that Liechtenstein
It's double
is
landlocked.
also
No
double landlocked.
chance. No chance because it borders France. Anyway, we've got off the subject, but I'm gonna crack on with this. So here we go.
Hey, well,
So
before you do, I got that right, by the way. Just saying. So can we just accept that
you
I've
did
got
get
that?
that right. Yeah, you did get big tick in the box. So 1912, it all kind of starts, but obviously certain things were happening in that part of the world in the 1910s and 20s and 30s, and it was part of USSR until 1991. Now there used to be a Uzbeki national team, but they only played really within the USSR. But obviously, Uzbeki players did play as part of the USSR teams. It was only after the dissolution of the USSR in 1991 that it became an independent nation. The first match that they ever played was in 1992. Never qualified, obviously, for the World Cup until now. Now, ranking-wise, climbing. 57th in the world over the last 20 years. They were as low as 119th. That's back in 1996. Highest is 45. So they had a very rapid rise over 10 years. Up to 2006, they got up to 45. And they've always kind of hovered around the kind of 40 to 50 level. So the ranking 57th is approaching the highest they've been. There's been this kind of general rise in ranking. And on the form side, during qualification for World Cup 26, of which there, by the way, are the three separate stages in AFC competition. Their record's been played 16, won 10, drawn 5, lost 1, so very creditable. The one loss was to Qatar, who are ranked 55th. They lost 3-2, but then when they had the home game in Tashkent, they beat them 3-0. That was pretty clear. Two very hard-fought draws in that time with Iran. Iran tend to be now the main rival in relation to Uzbeki football, and Iran are ranked 18th.
I think Iran are main rivals in pretty much everything at the moment, and everybody.
Yeah, they're certainly not making themselves overly popular, but they had these two hard-fought draws. Iran are ranked 18th. That's very creditable. But they've got some. So it's one of those ones where it's difficult to know exactly how good they are because of the standard of competition. But they've got some very interesting friendlies coming up against Argentina next. That'll be interesting. Hungary and Bulgaria, which I think is going to tell us a lot more about their potential strength. Because currently we're just looking at results against purely AFC opposition. But, dominant force in the region, clearly know what they're doing, and they've qualified for the World Cup. So hats off to Uzbekistan, and I hope they have a fantastic time at their first World Cup in 2026. Nikolai.
Liechtenstein is bordered by Switzerland and Austria, and therefore is the only other country in the world to be landlocked. Thank you.
Double landlocked.
Yeah, double landlocked, yeah. So there's two of them.
Right. Well, there you go. Hey, imagine if Liechtenstein played Uzbekistan. I mean, we've been talking about making up rivalries, haven't we? When we had New Caledonia against Scotland and things like that. British Virgin Islands against the US Virgin Islands. Now we've got a completely new rivalry they don't even know about. Uzbekistan against Liechtenstein, the double landlocked. Obviously, it'd have to be played over two legs, wouldn't it? But that would be worth watching, wouldn't it?
It's like a whole new league. You could set up a world league of double landlocked countries, and it would just be two of them, and they just play each other every week.
I'm really liking these rivalries that don't exist but do now segment. I think it's great.
Yeah, whilst I was looking up that, did you mention the 2006 World Cup qualifiers, which was steeped in controversy as far as Uzbekistan? Right. Let me tell you about this, because I know they've just reached their first World Cup. They very nearly and perhaps should have reached the 2006 World Cup, where their final qualifying game was against Bahrain. And in the first leg, which was at home, Uzbekistan were leading 1-0 when they got a penalty, right? They got a penalty. And Jeparov scored the penalty. The referee blew the whistle. Everybody thought he'd given the goal, and that was kind of the end of the game. And at 2-0 up, you're thinking, right, we've qualified. But actually, very controversially, ordered a retake or didn't actually order the retake. He gave Bahrain a free kick for encroachment. And there was a real hoo-ha about it. I mean,
picking the rules up as he goes along.
Yeah, they complained to FIFA and all that kind of stuff, wanting a 3-0 win, complaining the referees got it all wrong, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the whole thing stood. They lost the second leg and went out, but they didn't qualify. But it's a moment that in Uzbekistani football is notorious. That's all I can say. Absolutely notorious.
That sounds very dodgy.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. You mentioned Bahrain in Uzbekistan.
Or Liechtenstein.
Doesn't go down well. Yeah, or Liechtenstein, yeah.
They hate it.
I was going to cough there. Yes, very much so. 5 players, Ken. 5 players to watch out for at World Cup 2026. If of course they're there, because it's another year to go. But we're going to start with the goalkeeper. So the goalkeeper is there.
Oh, you mean the player if the players are there? Yeah.
If the players are there, yeah. Because it's still another year to go and anything can happen, of course. Players can come, players can go. If the World Cup happened right now, here are the 5 players to watch out for. The goalkeeper, Udkir Yusupov, who plays in the Persian Gulf Pro League club Fulad. He's 34 years old, so...
Been around. That's all right. That's all right for keeper, isn't it?
Yeah, he's 6'1". He's only been the first choice since 2023, which is unusual for a 34-year-old goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But he is first choice now. He's got 39 caps, and he seems very much ensconced in that position. In defence, we have Manchester City's Kusanov.
Yeah.
I was going to pronounce his first name there, but I've practiced this for the last couple of days, and I'm still struggling with it.
Aboukadir.
And normally I wouldn't worry about these things, but I know that if I get even the slightest pronunciation wrong, you jump all over me. So
what's wrong with Aboukadir? I mean, it's not the artist, is it?
Aboukadir Kusanov, whose rise to fame in international football has been very, very rapid, by the way. He joined Manchester City in January, in the January transfer window. 40 million euros move from RC Lens. Hasn't really done that well. He had a shocker. I don't know if you remember this.
I do.
Chelsea had an absolute mess.
Asleep, didn't he?
Yeah, but since then, it's a bit like you and me. It was a little bit like you and me just turning up to Stamford Bridge and going, "Can I have a game?" We go, yeah. We're playing Man City in half an hour. Do you fancy it? It was a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he did get better, but he's lost his place in the Man City team now. He'll be there next season. He'll be at City next season, but he's got a bit of a job to get his place back. Debuted in the main national team in 2023 after the Qatar World Cup. There's a bit of a theme on that in the young players coming through after Qatar. Actually, there's a bit of a theme about that generally in Uzbekistan football, because they've invested very heavily in their youth setup over the last 10 years or so. And there was a very famous plane crash. Did you know this? There was a very famous plane crash which killed a lot of the Uzbekistan football players. And after that, they've invested very heavily in their youth, and that's starting to bear fruit because a couple of the real superstars of the team are very young players. And Kusanov is undoubtedly one of those. He's played 22 times since, so he's got his feet under the table, and he's a bit of a stalwart now in that Uzbekistan defence. So we'll definitely see him next year. Definitely.
Very good.
Right, another young player of note who's making a lot of waves in the region is Abosbek Feyzulev. Get that right? I think I got that right.
Feyzuliev.
Yeah, I got that right. I'll give myself that one. He was a winger. He plays for CSKA Moscow in the Russian Premier League, so a decent standard. 21 years old, and he seems a real hope for the future. And as I say, one of the many stars who is emerging from the national youth system. Similar to Kusanov, he made his debut in 2023. Scored 8 goals in 25 games. He is one to watch out for. He's a good player. Yeah, he's a good player. So look forward to seeing him play. The superstar, if you like, the real stalwart of the team is Eldor Shomurodov, who is the captain, striker for Roma, plays in Serie A in Italy, so again plays at a high level. He's 29 years old, so he's very much in his prime. Got an excellent scoring record, by the way.
Yeah, he has. I've seen that. 1 in 2, isn't it? International level.
1 in 2, 42 goals in 81 games for Uzbekistan. So well done. So a lot of hopes will be resting on his shoulders next year. He's nicknamed. I mean, he's nicknamed the Uzbek Messi. Everybody's got to have a such and such Messi or such and such Ronaldo, don't they? Well, who did we do a couple of weeks ago who had the Asian Neymar? I mean, that's not really much of a compliment.
Yeah.
But Uzbek Messi.
Who's the English Messi? Who's the English Messi? It's Jack Grealish, isn't it? Apart from, I mean,
I want to know who the Argentinian Messi is. Who's the Argentinian Messi? He cites his game, Shomurodov, on the likes of Didier Drogba and Fernando Torres. So if you think back to the kind of strikers they were big, they were kind of really up and in your face kind of strikers.
Yeah, fast, physical.
Fast and physical, absolutely. Yeah, so he's one to watch out for. I look forward to seeing him play. And then finally, I mentioned to another striker who's kind of back up now is Igor Sergeyev. He's a striker again, age 32, very, very experienced. 73 caps for Uzbekistan, 20 goals. That's not bad at all. He won't play very often. He did come on in the 90th minute again in the game against. Who did they play to qualify?
Qatar.
Who did they beat 3-0? Who did they beat 3-0 to qualify?
Qatar, wasn't it?
He did come on in that game in the 90th minute and score. So well done to him. So he's there and thereabouts, and will certainly feature in the World Cup, particularly if they're switching and swapping players, because as we've talked about, that's Igor Sergeyev, and he plays in the Uzbekistan Super League at the club Pak Takor. So there are 5 players to watch out for next in the World Cup next year, Ken.
There's one thing I want to pick up on that. And firstly, though, I'm going to tell you about Bioniq, because Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalized supplements, because your body's unique. My body last week, that was unique. Anyway, because without knowing what deficiencies you have, taking off-the-shelf supplements means you're probably not getting enough of the nutrients you need. You're probably getting too much of the ones you don't need. So Bioniq provides 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs, exactly the right levels, no guessing. So check the link in the show notes, use the code GSPN 2025 and get your 40% discount and get some supplements that suit your individual body. Now, just a quick question on players, Nick, that I thought would be an interest to see if you've done your homework. The defensive midfielder for Uzbekistan, Mozgovoy. Mozgovoy has got a uniqueness in the Uzbekistan team and indeed squad. He has something that no other player in the squad has. Or, another way of putting it, he lacks something that all the other team members, all the other squad members has. So have a little think about that for 10 seconds.
So what's his name?
Mozgovoy.
He hadn't come up on my radar when I was researching all this. So I'm going to say, he hasn't got something that all the other players have. Okay, I'm going to go. They're going to go legs.
He does have. I've never actually seen him, but I'm assuming because he played 90 minutes against Qatar and defensive midfielder, he does possess legs.
Yeah. Is it going to be something? To say? I know that was only a joke, by the way. I didn't mean that. Is it going to be something like something to do with his heart or something like that? Because a lot of players now play with heart conditions and all of that, so he's got a pacemaker or something like that.
It's more simple than that. It's more simple than that. He's the only squad member whose name doesn't end with V.
Oh, that's so dark. That's such a boring answer.
It's not. That's the kind of thing. Absolutely. My ADHD goes off the charts when I see that. I'm saying, hey, you've got Anukov, Kashnikov, Nazrulayev. I'm saying, I'm going to make V. Going all the way down, you think, Oh, why? And then V. Every single member of that squad ends with V, except, annoyingly for me, Moscow.
Can you please just talk about the formations?
Well, it's a good illustration of that point because, against Qatar, Timur, interestingly, manager Timur Kapadze, Georgian name, obviously he's from Georgia, originally from Georgia.
To be fair, I've got a great fact about him. I've got a great fact about him. He's unique in terms of nothing else. In terms of his playing squad, what's very different about his name?
Kapadze.
Yeah,
is because
it ends in an E.
Ends in an E.
Yeah, extraordinary.
No, that is true. That's absolutely true because he's actually of Georgian descent. Anyway, so Kapadze, generally a fairly defensive setup against Qatar, which they won 3-0. So they won in that defensive. Was a 4-2-3-1, 4-2-3-1, or 3-4-2-1 seems to be the go-to formations. Against Qatar, it was, as Nick said, Yusupov in goal, Aljanov, Alkulov, Kusanov, Nazarlayev across the back, Hamrobikov, and annoyingly Mozgonoy in defensive midfield. Then Turgenbayev, Fazuleyev, and Masharipov in attacking midfield. And up front,
never take the mickey out.
Shomordov. So that's the setup. Everyone with a V, except annoyingly Moscovoy, who's rapidly becoming my favourite player for Uzbekistan.
So that's some great tactical analysis. Thank you very much. All the players. I'll tell you what. You should pay for this content. That's an amazing analysis from Ken. What can you say about them? Well, one of their players doesn't end in a V, his second name. So.
No, what have we learned? No, Nick, what have we learned? They're primarily set up in a fairly defensive mode. They're either 4-2-3-1 or the 3-4-2-1. So they are packing the defensive midfield and the defence. So I think they're a team that kind of breaks on teams and is very particular about what your last letter is of your name.
I'm just going to let you keep going on this. I'm just going to let you
move on.
Yeah. Let's move on. I've never been so glad to get Kenny's quiz underway. Right, a couple of questions for you this week, Ken. No points last week, sadly, so you missed out, so you dropped back down the table. The first question is this. What is the national animal of Uzbekistan? Play along at home here, people, whilst Ken is thinking about this. In fact, he's got his head in his hands. He's got his proper head in his hands here. I'm going to play the music again. What is the national animal of Uzbekistan?
Okay. It can only be one or two things, really, can't it? I reckon. No, I reckon it could be. No, it could be only one or two things. It's going to be either three things. It's either going to be an eagle, because they love their eagles over there. They love their and their hawks and stuff like that. This is all part of the old Silk Road, isn't it? And it's going to be something that kind of would have been so it's going to be a hawk or an eagle. It could be a camel. I imagine there's more than one camel there. I imagine they get quite attached to the camels. And thirdly, I'm thinking it could be a little gerbil or a squirrel or something like, a little gerbil, the ones with the long tails that are scurrying around. Could be something like that. But that doesn't sound like exciting enough to have could be a wolf.
Do you want a clue?
Yeah.
It's none of those.
Then I'm going to go.
This is a really hard answer.
Oh, great! Then I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm going to say the national animal of Uzbekistan is the lizard.
Not bad, mate. Not bad. You're very, very close. You're super close. You're so close that I'm almost considering giving you half a point for this. Shout the answer. You're not really. Shout the answer out at home if you know this. The national animal of Uzbekistan is the Turkestan sandcat.
Oh,
I put that in.
Words fail me now. To be honest, words fail me. I mean, what were the chances of me getting that? Unless I was one Uzbeki, or secondly, actually a sandcat.
Mate, I don't know. You always tell me you're the
day is a school day. I know it now, but
yeah. No, well, look, there you go. It's all about learning, mate. That's all. It's not about you getting these things right. It's about learning the answers. And now, if anybody
isn't about me getting them right, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, that's true. I made that one quite hard, but I very deliberately made the second one much easier. Okay,
right.
So I expect you to get this right.
Right.
What is the main export of the country of Uzbekistan? Oh, don't put your head in your hands here, mate. Come on.
What's the main export of Uzbekistan? Uzbekistan. What's going to be famous? Well, I imagine.
I'm going to give you a massive.
Okay.
No,
don't give me any clues. I think I know what it is.
Oh, okay.
Are we talking in monetary value, or are we talking in volume?
I would probably, given the fact I know the answer, I'll probably say volume.
Oh,
although I don't know. It might be both, because of course, if you sell more of something,
I would say then Uzbekistan oil.
No, but I'm going to give you another go, and I'm going to give you a clue. You mentioned a little bit earlier on the Silk Road, which everybody knows what the Silk Road is. It's the main trade route between East and West. Okay. Yeah. So think around what might be, and silk kind of gives you a clue. It's not silk, but it kind of gives you a clue. What is the main export that will be transported around and out of Uzbekistan? What do they make most of?
Carpets.
Okay. Well, no. At least you got the first letter of the answer correct. The answer is cotton, and I thought you would have known that.
Well, no? I should do, because
that region is a massive cotton exporter.
Really?
Think of all the clothes that we wear. They're all sort of made in that region. Not necessarily in Uzbekistan, but around kind of Bangladesh, India, all that kind of area.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't consider that the easiest question you've ever thrown at me.
No, it's not. Easier than the Turkestan sandcat.
Yeah, well, it was easier than that, because no one's even getting that with the $1 million question on who wants to be a millionaire. That would be the actual deciding question on who wants to be a trillionaire after you've gone through 9 million questions. Okay, that's good. One of
the great values of listening to this podcast, right? Imagine this. You can, or indeed anybody listening today. Imagine in a couple of years' time, you actually get on a game show and it's called Who Wants to Be a Trillionaire, and you get through it and you get through it and you get through it. And you go, oh, God, it's harder and harder and harder. And you get to the £1 trillion question. You go, oh, there's no possible chance of me getting this right. There's no possible chance. And the question is, what is the national animal of Uzbekistan?
Yeah, and I'd say cotton. I'd say cotton. Anyway, there you go. Move on. It's dreadful performance. I'm going to get relegated.
Have a round of applause for that one. But imagine that was the case. If, by the way, listeners out there in the world, right across the world, if this ever happens to you, and you get to the final round of a games quiz, and you win loads of money, because the final question is, what's the national animal of Uzbekistan, and it's written on the basis that you won't get it, and you get the answer right because you've heard it here, please get in touch and buy a snack. That would be very nice.
Buy the podcast.
Right. Final bit then, before we move on to our predictions, is a look at Timur Kaladze, who is the coach of Uzbekistan. He's known as kind of Mr. Uzbekistan when it comes to football, because he's been involved with the setup for years. He played 119 times for the country as a player.
Legend.
He is a legend. He's a legend, yeah. Legend is a phrase that is overused, but not here. He led the under 23 teams team at last year's Olympic Games and was then appointed full-time coach after Katanec, who was the previous coach, left because of illness. That was only January time. So here we are. 10 years after he earned his final cap as a player, he was coaching them to success, to qualifying in the World Cup. Finally getting that qualification monkey off their backs after 2 very previous close-run things. He was actually, I mentioned the game earlier on around Bahrain and the controversy around Bahrain. He played in that game. He played in that game. He featured in it.
He's still sore about it.
Well, I reckon that, and there was a sense of this when I was researching this podcast, the sense of relief that they finally qualified. And in fact, Kaladzi's part of that. So he was a player in that game because it is something they've taken to their heart, that game. In that game, he's now the coach that's led them to the first World Cup finals. There's a bit of synergy. There's a bit of yin and yang going on in there.
Yeah, good for him. And congratulations. Hope that's exercised a few demons.
Yeah. So he's coached anyway. Look, he's coached through the levels. He's led the under-23s to the Asian final in 2022, 2024, which got them to the Olympics. And he's got a lot of good pedigree, I think, both as a player and as a manager. He's quite conservative. We've touched on that already, haven't we? So I won't go through that again. He's quite conservative. He's quite pragmatic. He plays a fairly defensive setup. And I think he's going to need to in the World Cup because he's going to come up against much better teams than he's playing now. And in the heat, maybe they might do better than perhaps they might have done otherwise. So in the under-20, in the sort of 23s and the 17s and the 20s, all these teams in through the national level he's coached, he's done really well at. So I think there's a hope that they've got the right man in charge because he's done it at youth level, if you like. He's played for the national team. He understands the culture of the country, understands the culture of the national team. So, and I think he probably understands the limitations of his squad as well, which is why he plays the way he does. So, well done to him. I'm really pleased. I like it when people like this get to manage their national teams and lead them into World Cups, people who are steeped in history. I think for this kind of country, I mean, Uzbekistan aren't going to win the World Cup, let's face it. So they're not looking for a Thomas Tuchel style coach. They're not going to go down a road that England have gone down, for example, by saying, right, let's just get somebody who can win this thing and get us over the line, rather than somebody who's ingrained in the culture and all of that, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm pleased for Kaladze. I'm really pleased that he's got over the line to take them to the World Cup, and the very best of luck to him. Very best of luck to him.
Yeah.
He is an absolutely national legend.
Fantastic, yeah, and he's doing it the hard way. I mean, and they've tried before, they've failed. Now
I'll press that button by mistake.
I thought I was going to get another question. So what's your predictions then? So where do we think they're going to finish the tournament?
Well, my prediction is that they'll get a point. I think they'll get a 0-0 draw somewhere along the line in one of their 3 qualifying games, and that's the best they're going to do. So I don't think they're going to get out of their groups, out of the group stages, but I don't think they're going to lose all 3 games. I do expect them to get a point, and that's as far as it's going to go. So, well, listen, massive congratulations to everybody involved in Uzbekistan football for getting to the World Cup. It's really, really good news. Once you're there, it's going to be a mighty tough ask. So I don't think it's going to be group stages. Ken?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I think actually the expansion of the World Cup to 48 teams was specifically in order that teams like Uzbekistan could qualify. I mean, let's be honest, if it's still a 32-team tournament, I don't think Uzbekistan would be qualifying again. So I mean, they are there as part of that transitional phase, if you like. So yeah, they're going to be an interesting team to watch. I'm going to look forward to seeing them, but I think you're right. I just cannot see them when they come up against some pretty tough opposition. I think they're going to get opened up a little bit too easily. So I've got them eliminated in the group stages as well. So I think we're on the same page on that one.
We are. So well done anyway. Well done. Thanks for coming, lads. See you later. Next week, folks, we're bouncing into a potential World Cup winner. Oh, yes, we are. I'm very excited about this, Ken. We're bouncing into a potential World Cup winner because next week we're going to focus on recent qualifiers. Brazil. How good is that going to be, by the way?
I'm I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the whole process. If we manage to get 49 minutes out of Uzbekistan, we're probably going to be here all afternoon.
Yeah, one thing, because we were running short of time, the one thing I didn't do, we had a letter in. I always say we have a letter in because I like the thought of somebody actually sending a letter. We didn't. We had an email in from James, who lives in Boston, who had asked us around the whole idea. We maybe have a look at this next week, mate. He asked us around the whole idea of expanding the World Cup, and is there any point in having teams like Uzbekistan, like Jordan, like these minnows who wouldn't get there in the previous competitions before it was expanded? Is there any point in having them there? It was his question to us. So I think maybe we should have a look at that next week. And
we'll answer it next week. But actually, it does play into the story we went with at the top of the show, which was, how does that play into the conditions? We're playing a lot more games. We're playing it over a much longer period, and I'm sure those kind of factors would not have been thought of in relation to the expansion idea.
No, possibly so. So we'll have a look at that. Thanks, James, for that question. If you do want to get in touch with us, do email us in at roadtoworldcup26@gmail.com or get us through Instagram, which is at roadtoworldcup26. Thank you for your email or your letter, should I say. I'm going to Boston in a couple of weeks' time. I might meet up with James for a pint. I'll be in Boston.
Hey, that'd be nice. See if you can get another question out of him. But that's well, enjoy it. I know you are, and because your lad's going to play football in America.
He's going to play soccer, college soccer. Sorry, college soccer.
Yeah, that's
more
fantastic.
About that. I'm going to be talking more about that as we go along.
Brilliant.
Good. Well, that's Uzbekistan wrapped up. Ken, we did a good deep dive into Uzbekistan there, and I think anybody listening to this, you all will know far more about it than you ever would have known otherwise. And more importantly, you've got the answer to the £1 trillion question. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Come back next week when we'll be talking about Brazil. But until then, look after yourselves, look after each other. Goodbye.